Good morning. This is a moment of hope given to you by Bethel, and we hope this is encouraging for you today on this. We're taping this on Friday, May 8th. And the text is Psalm 130, verse 7. It goes like this, O Israel, hope in the Lord. For with the Lord there is a steadfast love, and with him there is plentiful redemption. Now the Good News version is kind of cool. It goes like this, put your trust and your hope in God. His love will never fail you. You know, there's just something wonderful about being able to live your days out trusting and knowing that God is going to be with you and to get you through just about anything. So I want to share a story with you. The Sunday before the stay-at-home order went into effect, I went off to the Zobrist house to drop some things off. And as I drove into the driveway, I looked to the left, and there was Emily and Ben with one of their sons and Emily's parents, and they were planting trees, digging holes to plant trees. Not just one tree, but lots of trees, like a grove of trees. Now, it was kind of cold that day. It was windy, and I don't know if it was raining or snowing, but something was coming down from the sky, and it was cold. And I've often reflected upon that scene, not really knowing much about the virus, not really knowing what's going to really happen, not know how deeply this is going to affect us, and looking around at the weather, pretty well knowing that winter doesn't seem to be going away very quickly. But with the promise of spring and that life would be going on, they were planting a grove of trees. Life was going to go on. God is in charge. Things are going to be okay. It was living in the hope that God had given them something that they could get through anything without having to be too afraid or be affected so much that they stopped living. And that no matter what's happening in our country, no matter how was going on with the weather, all that was less important than what God had convinced them in their life, that He was going to provide for them. He was going to be there for them. He was going to be there with them as always. Now, I heard there's a story, and I don't know how true it is, but I heard that Dr. Martin Luther once said that if he heard that the world was going to end in 6 days, he would go out and plant an apple tree just to tell everyone that whatever going to happen in the future, God was going to be there in the future, so he was going to go on living his life as if things were going to be the same, with hope. First Peter tells us a lot about hope in his letter. We call that the Epistle of Hope, and it's filled with a lot of great gifts of hope to us. Peter is a man that knew that Jesus was going to keep his word. He was going to come back from heaven just because he was raised from the dead, and he didn't believe that the first time, and he wasn't going to make that mistake the second time. So Peter begins his letter of 1 Peter with kind of a jumble of phrases, references to the past, references to the future, references about God, references about the Old Testament, and about Jesus. It's a big picture type of thing. So I'm just going to look at the first 12 verses of this letter that mentions God proportionally more than any other book in the Bible, except for maybe 1 John. So Peter tells us that, hey, before time began, the foreknowledge of God and the Father, verse 2, or those who were elected as exiles, he knew and invested in you before the world began. That was in verse 1. The Old Testament, the prophets who prophesied about the grace that would be yours, searched, inquired carefully on how Jesus predicted his sufferings and now his glory. These things revealed to people that his work was serving them and not himself, verses 10 through 12. Jesus on earth, he talked about his sufferings, verse 11. The resurrection of Jesus, verse 3. His subsequent glory, verse 11. Our experience as disciples of Jesus, those who preach the good news to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven, verse 12. God had caused you to be born again, verse 3. Sanctification of the Spirit, verse 2. Sprinkling of his blood, verse 2. And though you've not seen him, you love him, verse 8. You rejoice, you have been grieved, and yet through many trials, God, who by his glory has guarded you through all of that, verse 5. the last time and forever, salvation ready to be revealed in the last time, and your faith, which is more precious than gold or silver, to result in the praise and the honor of the revelation of Jesus Christ. Verse 7. And these are just 12 verses of this mighty book of hope. A letter packed with trust, a letter packed with hope, a letter packed with how to live your life. That life is going to go on so you can plant your gardens after it gets the warms up a little bit. Or you can maybe buy your school supplies because eventually people are going to go back to school. Or maybe you can update your passport because we will be traveling again. Just living today as if the future is going to be okay in God's hands. Have a great day.